A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for creating time to catch the latest in Kenya and beyond borders on Sunday Express. Tonight, we'll be drawing a picture for you about how the campaign trail for the 2022 general election looks like. Full of promises, I tell you. ODM leader Raila Odinga was in Nairobi and Deputy President William Ruto was in Nakuru. Plus, in our conversation tonight, we'll be talking about matters relationships as we seek to answer the question on how we can mend the cracks in a relationship, when to call it quit, and how to do it maturely or amicably, if you may use that particular term. I'll be having that conversation later with Fred Abok. He's a family coach and a counselor right here on Sunday Express. So start engaging us right now at KBC Channel 1 at Serfine_Ching. Use the hashtag Sunday Express. Of course, I'll be doing this alone tonight. Once again, John Jacob Kioria is not with us, but he will be joining us hopefully on Wednesday. And our sign language interpreter tonight is Byron Abuli. Let's begin straight away with the top story. Alex Korir and Olympic champion Peres Jepchirchir are the winners of the 50th edition of the New York City Marathon. Korir crossed the line in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 22 seconds, while Jepchirchir clocked 2 hours, 22 minutes and 39 seconds. 30,000 participants took part in this year's race.
Olympic champion Peres Jepchirchir, making her debut in New York, pulled away in the final meters to win just 3 months after she won gold in the women's marathon at the Tokyo Olympics.
Winning in New York City, Peres Jepchirchir of Kenya, the winner in 2021 at the TCS New York City Marathon.
Jepchirchir finished in 2 hours, 22 minutes and 39 seconds, just 4 seconds ahead of compatriot Viola Cheptoo. Abebel Yashine of Ethiopia finished third. Kenya's Albert Korir won the men's race in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 22 seconds for his first major championship.
New York City, the 50th New York City Marathon to Albert Korir of Kenya. Second 2 years ago, and yes, number one.
Kenya remains a bedrock of champions. Congratulations, Albert Korir and Peres Jepchirchir, for making us proud. Now, on to matters politics. Deputy President William Ruto has sustained his criticism of ODM leader Raila Odinga, blaming him for causing discord within the Jubilee Party. Speaking during his tour of Nakuru County on Sunday, Ruto maintained that the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the former Premier derailed the implementation of the Big Four agenda. Have a look. Deputy President William Ruto took his 2022 presidential campaign to Nakuru County Sunday. At one of his stopovers in Gilgil, the DP took a swipe at ODM leader Raila Odinga, whom he accused of derailing the government's development agenda.
Tukasema tutaweka pesa ya kilimo kwa ile mambo ya food security. Tukasema tutaweka pesa ya universal health coverage ndio tupunguze gharama ya matibabu. Lakini wakati bwana Kitendawili alitutembelea, alituletea kisirani, chama yetu ikasambaratika, ile mpango ya Big Four ikakwama.
Ruto pushing proponents of the constitutional reforms to the backseat, insisting that the country should focus on economic recovery.
Akakuja na mambo ya rege. Naye Mungu akatusaidia akasimamisha rege. Tunaelewana watu wa Gilgil? Na walikuwa na kiburi mingi. Walikuwa wanatuambia nobody can stop reggae. Sasa wamejua kuna Mungu dunia hii mwenye anaweza kusimamisha reggae.
Ruto says that under his presidency, the Big Four agenda will not only be actualized, but also supplemented by his bottom-up economic model.
Ile mambo hatukuweza kuyatekeleza kwa Big Four kwa sababu ya mambo ya reggae na mambo mengine mengi. Mimi nimesema hiyo mpango ya Big Four mahali imebaki, tutajumuisha ndani ya hii bottom-up ndio tuweze kutimiza ahadi yetu kwa watu wa Kenya.
While lashing out at those poking holes onto his model, the DP vowed to pump a sum of up to 50 billion shillings to support micro and medium enterprises in Kenya. The DP was accompanied by a section of his allies who warned that the UDA party will be a force to reckon with in the upcoming general election.
Right from Nakuru County to Nairobi, where ODM leader Raila Odinga now says those against his Azimio la Umoja clarion call want to propagate divisive politics and have nothing solid to solve issues bedeviling the nation. Raila, who spoke during his tour of parts of Nairobi, said his leadership would prioritize the unity of the country, tackling unemployment among the youth and making Kenya a social welfare state. Gladys Mungai with this report.
Watu wa Garissa tunawapenda sana.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga and his lieutenants on Sunday sought to rally Nairobi residents behind the Azimio la Umoja campaign, saying that under his tenure as president, Kenya will need to stay united for the country to thrive.
Kupitia primary, secondary mpaka chuo kikuu. Na akizafuzu apewe vile vile nafasi ya kupata masomo maalum. Awe na fani, anaweza kuwa yeye ni specialist kwa mambo ya ICT, anaweza kuwa yeye ni mechanic, anaweza kuwa ni electrician, anaweza kuwa plumber na kadhalika. Aweze kupata kazi ya maana. Na kazi ya maana tutakuwa tunazo ikiwa kama tutakuwa tumejenga viwanda katika taifa letu. Sio ati kazi ni kazi. Mimi sitaki kupatia vijana wheelbarrow. Tunataka kazi wa maana kwa vijana wetu. Hiyo ndio tutaweza kupigana na ufukara na umaskini na njaa ambayo iko katika taifa letu.
Raila, who after attending a Lejo Maria church service in Makongeni Makadara constituency, affirmed his pledge of ensuring that every Kenyan from poor family receives 6,000 shillings monthly stipends, dismissing those castigating the plan.
Wanasema hiyo ni mzaha. Hiyo ni mzaha. Hiyo ni porojo. Hiyo ni siasa. Nasema hapana, si siasa. Mimi nimeshakuwa waziri mkuu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Mimi najua vile uchumi ya nchi hii inaendeshwa. Kwa hivyo mimi siwezi kuongea tu hivyo. Mimi najua pale pesa iko.
In California, the ODM leader appeals to the youth not to be hoodwinked by his opponents, whom he claimed have no creative solutions to solve issues related to youth.
Kazi maana tutakuwa tunazo ikiwa kama tutakuwa tumejenga viwanda katika taifa letu. Sio ati kazi ni kazi. Mimi sitaki kupatia vijana wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow. Tunataka kazi wa maana kwa vijana wetu.
Leaders accompanying Odinga urging residents not to be swayed by politicians keen to hoodwink them for selfish political gains.
Ukitaka kupanda mlima, ni nini itafika huko kwanza? Ni tinga ama ni wheelbarrow? Si ni tinga? Sasa watu wa mlima wanataka kupanda kwa njia ile faster. Na njia ile faster ni baba. Na mimi najua tutampeleka kila kona ya mlima na mlima itakuwa nyuma ya baba mwishoe.
For Sunday Express, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Let's stay with those political drumbeats. Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka is challenging leaders to reveal the source of their wealth to the electorate. Kalonzo says that some leaders are engaging in corrupt dealings to amass wealth for use in campaigns.
Speaking in Mwingi, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka challenged leaders vying for various political seats in the 2022 general elections to explain to Kenyans the source of their wealth.
Watajibu hizi pesa wanazitoa wapi? Mshahara wa kila public servant, including members of parliament, deputy president na president, inajulikana. Ikiwa mtu baada ya miaka 9, miaka 10 dhuru uchumi wa nchi,
Kalonzo saying that it was unfortunate some leaders were using positions of power to amass wealth to a point of almost grounding some government parastatals through theft, asking Kenyans to vet such leaders.
Sijui kama mnajua shirika la kiserikali Kenya Power and Lighting Corporation limefilisika kwa sababu viongozi wanaiba direct na kuja kuonga wananchi na pesa ambazo wameiba na kusababisha gharama kubwa ya electricity.
His sentiments come in even as the Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit called on political leaders and members of the public to exercise tolerance as the country heads to the next general election.
Let our political class do it in a peaceful environment. Let them not incite anybody against anyone. Let us put our blueprint and our promises to the electorate so that they can make judgment without necessarily hitting on each other, because, you know, that is how we incite people, because every one of you has a following. And the moment you go mentioning names, you are raising emotions and tensions of the people.
Sapit's sentiments were echoed by Muslim associations from all the counties who cautioned that the divisive direction of the campaign could cause instability.
Hatutaki siasa zile za nyuma zilizopita za machafuko, kwa sababu siasa zikinapokuwa na michafuko, viongozi wetu wanakosa maadili mema, wanalala barabarani, wanarusha mawe, watoto wetu wanaiga tabia hizo.
Na tutarudi tena katika kongamano la kitaifa ambapo tutawaelekeza Waislamu wamchague nani kama rais wa Kenya, wamchague nani kama gavana katika kaunti yao, na wachague bunge gani, women rep gani, na maseneta gani, na MCA gani. Safari hii hatuachi watu wafanye watakalo, tutahakikisha tumenyoosha nchi.
Nancy Okware, Sunday Express.
And moving on, the 6th National Indigenous Women Conference that was held in Isiolo has come to a close with the unveiling of a 5-year roadmap. The roadmap is geared towards influencing policies at the 2 levels of government, with special emphasis on the position of women in leadership and rights to own property, especially land. Conveners of the conference have committed to spearheading the implementation of the roadmap to empower women to step up in leadership roles and property ownership.
Very nice.
The 2-day conference held in Isiolo County saw representatives drawn from 14 pastoralist counties represented. Samburu Women Trust Executive Director Jen Naini said the newly formed Indigenous Women Council will spearhead the implementation of the roadmap and champion for the voice of women, especially during public participation forums for the formulation of the next county integrated development plans and other policies.
Mambo ya mama, sauti yetu iko chini, na hiyo ndio sisi tumeona tukizindua hii roadmap inaweza kutusaidia in terms of kuinfluence policy at the county level, kuinfluence policy kwa national government, na pia kuweka hizo mpendekezo wakati serikali inaweka mikakati, sauti yetu iwe ndani na pia sisi tuweze kusikika.
The attendees decried being at a disadvantage when seeking leadership positions in their areas as compared to the men who have an upper hand.
Na nimetafuta kwa muda huo wadhifa ya uongozi wa kina mama, na nataka kusema kuwa wamama hawapewi nafasi ya kutosha kama wababa wenzetu, kwani hata political parties ya wamama haziko, ni moja tu iko katika Kenya. Wamama hawakui na usalama wakati wako uwanjani kutafuta kura, kwani wanapangiwa na vijana wadogo ama wazee. Watu wanapewa pesa ili wawatatize, ili wasiendelee kikamilifu na kampeni zao,
na pia tupatiwe nafasi so that tukienda 2022 August tutaweza kusherekea kwamba sisi katika wamama tumepata nafasi ngapi, tunaweza kukari data kwa county level, tuko na wamama wangapi na ni wangapi tumepata cheo kama CEOs ama sisi, then at the national level ni wamama wangapi wameweza kupata nafasi ya kuelektiwa, si kunominatiwa.
The women noted that if fully implemented, the just unveiled roadmap will go a long way towards empowering women to achieve the 1/3 gender principle within the next 5 years. Yusuf Farr reporting for Sunday Express.
Now, after years of poor rainfall and low crop production, 21 counties are food insecure. Marsabit County is among those affected. Climate change has made the situation worse. Conversationists in Marsabit County are now involving communities in reforestation and other environmental conservation mechanisms to help address the situation. Just how successful are these interventions? Purity Museo tells us more in the second and final part of our special feature, Tales of Resilience.
A glimpse of the effects of climate change. Marilla River in Marsabit County serves more than half of the population here, but it's completely dried up. After a whole year of barely any rain, thousands of people on the north are facing severe hunger or starvation.
90% of the, or we can say even 99% of the water which are being used in sides of Songa, even in the areas like Padasa, are normally gotten from the forests. There are some catchment areas, some springs, which they normally collect those water and getting them.
Climate change experts are now calling this a climate change famine.
This area usually experiences a kind of perennial drought that normally hits so hard, and at the end of the day bring even conflicts among its community because of a scramble over grazing lands.
In this part of Marsabit County, there is nothing left to eat for residents. Nearly every day, they wake up to this. These animals are wasted away and dying from hunger and disease.
Kama una pesa uwezi kununua maji, hiyo ni shida. Kuosha nguo, sasa hakuna maji.
Joyce Dafaradai has lived here for years. Disturbed by the way the forest in her village has been depleted, she started tree nurseries using her own time and money to save the forest around her and make a difference.
Hatupati mvua, mambo ya climate change, mvua inasakosekana hata 3 years. Na shida tena kuenda forest unakamatwa na watu ya Kenya Forest.
In 2006, she introduced a group of women into the practice.
Tukaona sio vema, sisi tuko na mikono, tuko na akili, tuko na ujuzi, tuko na maji, tuko na ardhi. Tukasema wacha sisi badala tunaenda kununua huko mbali, ambayo tunatumia hata transport kuenda kutafuta miche kwa mbali, wacha sisi tujianzishe yetu. Niliweza kuchangisha pesa kila mama shilingi 20, tukanunua miche 500 seedling. Tukaweza mimi nikapanda 50, nimejinunulia 50 nikapanda kwa plot yangu, na shule tukapandia pia.
The Faraday and her group would later voluntarily start helping the Kenya Forest Service take care of the Marsabit forest through rehabilitation by introducing indigenous trees.
This forest is a critical water catchment area for the Marsabit community, and its restoration brings hope to the already arid and drought-stricken area.
Apart from just doing farmer-managed natural regeneration within the forest, they also practice it back at home, and at the same time also doing tree planting. They have their own nurseries. They do fruit tree planting, which of course contribute to nutrition to their families.
These women have become grassroots leaders in Marsabit County. They have come together to show not only how they have been affected by drought, but also what they are doing for long-term solution.
Sisi kama wamama tunaweza kujisaidia. Hatuwezi kukaa na umaskini, tunajua venye tunaweza kujitafutia pesa.
This is Chorora Women Group, brought together by fate. With worsening drought, competition for water and grazing is growing, stoking rivalry and theft among herders. Women and their children who are left to mind some of the animals at home also find themselves vulnerable to livestock raids and left without an income when they happen. But an unusual kind of income generation is helping the situation: beekeeping. Since 2017, these women have managed beehives as a new way of earning a living.
Tukiwa na EBF na tukiwa na msinga yetu, nyuki huwa tunavunanga wakati ya drought tu mara nyingi. Sio wakati ya rainy season. Na hii wakati ya drought tukivuna hii asali, huwa inatusaidia sana. Kwa sababu ya mapato tunapata yenyewe inatusaidia.
Through their various groups, Marsabit women are changing the story of their communities. As the drought bites, they have adequate food for their families. They keep working tirelessly for better environment and overall health for all.
Now they say if you want something done, then ask a woman. These women have done more than they have been asked. In a campaign led by the Kenya Forest Service and the World Vision Kenya, these women that are now planting trees in this region have taken advantage of the campaign and now keeping bees, a practice that has changed their lives in an area where drought is affecting communities here. Purity Museo, KBC in Marsabit County.
Thank you, Purity Museo, for dancing your way into Marsabit County to bring us that great story about those women who are resilient and beating the odds amidst the drought situation in Marsabit to feed their families. That report there takes us to our first break on Sunday Express. We are coming back with much more. Remember our conversation on how to mend the cracks in relationships. What's the best way to go about it? What's the mature way to go about it in case you decide to call it quit? And how do you prevent yourself as a couple from getting to that particular point? That conversation coming up after the break. Do stay with us.
We take it on at the right time.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Chief Justice Martha Karambuko.
This is KBC, the voice of Kenya.
Asking the right questions.
I don't know how it made you feel as speaker who is presiding over a house where members can be compromised with 10,000 shillings.
We keep our guests comfortable. A mission to ensure our audience gets a complete story.
For a few hours or so, I thought this is it. My end has come.
If really we want an end of this pandemic, we must fight.
Our goal, to tell it as it is for the benefit of our viewer.
And I'm sure we will have good discussions.
All right.
That will make probably your viewers understand KDF better.
With 21 radio outlets.
During a live interview on KBC TV, Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibosha.
Jaji mkuu kwa mara ya kwanza katika mahojiano yake ya kipekee na runinga ya KBC Channel 1.
And 2 TV stations covering over 90% of the entire country. The message always gets home. KBC, the home of on-air TV interviews.
Umbe watu jasiri kama nyinyi mnaogopa kufanya mazamkembe.
Mimi naona tafute maarifa mengine kabla hatujajuta.
Kupatia nafasi angalau niambie ukweli, lakini kila kukicha uongo wako hazidi kimo tu.
Ndio kwa wapi wewe mzee? Ama ona hapa pakufai.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now we move on. An unfortunate story here. A family in Gasharage village in Kandara, Murang'a County is seeking financial assistance to have their infant daughter undergo a liver transplant in India. The family of Tamara Wambui Njoroge says the baby was diagnosed with mixed biliary atresia, a rare disease of the liver and bile duct that occurs in infants. The family requires 5 million shillings to have the condition corrected.
According to Faith Nduta, baby Tamara's mother, her daughter was born healthy, but her complexion turned yellowish just 5 days after birth. The worried mother says she tried several remedies by doctors in Murang'a, but her health showed no improvement.
Alizaliwa vizuri kama watoto wengine. Akiwa na 5 days nikanotice ako na yellowness kwa macho. Na nikamrudisha hospitali. Wakaniambia hiyo yellowness ni ya jua, nimpeleke nirudi nyumbani nikuje nimuoteshe jua ile yellow itaisha. Lakini vile nilikuwa naendelea kumuotesha jua, ile yellow haikuisha, ilikuwa inaendelea kuongezeka. Nikaambiwa nimpeleke Maragwa kulingana na zile test walikuwa wanahitaji kufanya. Nao Maragwa wakanituma Murang'a. Vile tulienda Murang'a, tukawa admitted Murang'a. Tukiendelea kutibiwa huko. Tukatibiwa, tukalazwa huko within 1 week. Tukiendelea kuangalia ni nini inafanya liver test zake ziendelee kupanda instead ya kushuka, sababu kulingana na umri wa mtoto kuna ile rate zinafaa kuwa zina age.
The child's stomach developed swelling, while several referral visits at Kenyatta National Hospital advised her to seek treatment outside the country in India to save her life.
Zile testi tulifanya zikaonyesha liver ya mtoto ilishaharibika kabisa, hata haiwezi tibiwa, imegonjeka kabisa. Daktari sasa akatuambia ile option imebaki ndio tusefu huyu mtoto ni afanyiwe liver transplant. Na liver transplant Kenya hakuna hiyo facility. Inafaa tu apelekwe India ndio afanyiwe liver transplant.
Fantas Njoroge Ndirango, Tamara's father, says they need help from well-wishers in raising the 5 million shillings needed to facilitate her treatment abroad.
Ile pesa inahitajika hapa ni shilingi milioni 5, na hii pesa mimi kwa uwezo wangu siwezi kuipata.
The family has asked well-wishers to send funds through the M-Pesa paybill number 891300 under the account number 48940. Yusuf Hilo, Sunday Express.
A call for your generous giving. Baby Tamara needs your help. She needs 5 million shillings to get that liver transplant. You are required to support. Please, you can find that story on our social media platforms in case you have missed the numbers of the accounts that you can reach out to that family on, and you'll be able to do that. Now, moving on, thousands of stories have been told about the brave men and women who wrestled Kenya from the firm grip of colonial masters. One such story is of that of Musa Nyandusi, a chief from Kisii, who at the height of their strife provided refuge for freedom fighters, including Kenya's founding president, Jomo Kenyatta. Chief Nyandusi's nephew, 94-year-old Stephen Kiana Bonike, spoke to the Kenya News Agency about this piece of history and how it helped shape Kenya's march to freedom.
Until the lion learns to speak, the tales of the hunt will always favor the hunter. Hence the tale of the famous chief Musa Nyandusi Boyako is told by his 94-year-old nephew, Stephen Kiana Bonike, to ensure history is not forgotten.
Musa akaja hii barabara kutoka Kisii kuja kwake hapo Nyusia. Kufika hapo Kegati, wakakutana na mzee Kenyatta. Akamsimamisha, wakazungumza, akamwambia tuliitwa Kisii na bwana DC kutuambia ya kwamba wewe umeonekana hapa, ukikutwa ukamatwe, unakuja kufundisha Wakisii maumau. Musa akamwambia yule driver alikuwa na mzee, wewe kwenda, wacha mimi na kwenda na huyu mzee.
They are tales of Mzee Kenyatta's resilience to traverse the whole country as the colonialists hunted him down.
Hawa beberu, hawa kutaka Mzee Kenyatta aende kwa Kibisigis, aende hata Ukambani, aende hata mahali popote, hawa Kenya wote waelewe hayo mambo.
Mzee Nyandusi was among the chiefs who had been notified to track him, but upon meeting him, Nyandusi knew better to shield him instead.
Wakasikia mitoka iko hapa nje inakuja, mitoka na unguruma hapa nje ya nyumba ya Musa. Musa akamwambia, naona ni polisi na madio wako hapa, wewe kwenda room yangu, sleeping room. Kenyatta akaenda sleeping room. Kenyatta alipoingia hapo sitting room na Musa akatoka nje. Namna gani mnakuja hapa? Ate uliona mlikutana na Kenyatta wakati yule anakuja? Musa akasema hapana. Sijamuona. Pengine alienda njia gani sijui.
Even when Mzee Nyandusi's compound was raided, he will redirect the search team, wait for the veil of darkness, and help Mzee Kenyatta escape.
Kufika usiku sijui saa 8 hivi, saa 7 saa 8, Musa akamchukua na mtoka yake kamsindikiza paka Nyamira. Kule Nyamira walienda wakapata gari ambayo ni gari kubwa ya mizigo sika. Kenyatta akaingia ndani akarejea kwake.
Nyandusi was Kenya's longest serving and last chief secretary before the post was abolished after his retirement in 1987.
Now, moving on, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and for a man in Kiambu County, the invention is a security system made out of basic household items such as spoons and cups. Francis Kamanga has built an alarm system which he believes has the potential to rival all the already available ones in the market today. Take a look.
Kilowe village in Limuru, Kiambu County. A young man is determined to make a difference. After losing his poultry to a thief in 2019, Francis Kamanga decided to take security matters into his own hands.
That's where this idea was born, and I decided to make a gadget.
Francis has built a security system, one that sends an alert to his cell phone whenever an unwelcome guest makes an appearance.
When someone tries to enter a restricted area like my room, the system makes a phone call, and also it triggers an alarm, and also it writes the security lights.
Francis says the system which he built from spoons, cups and bulbs can be upgraded to a more sophisticated security tool.
If I have capital, I can be able to make something that can be digital, and it can also be suitable for market, where even you can use your smartphone to control it whenever you are switching it off and on. I would be able to assist my village because I'm going to employ people who are from Morocco homes and who will bring a little bit of impact to the community.
The dream for Francis is to win the upcoming innovation competition of the Jomo Kenyatta University of Art and Technology, and in the days to come keep his village secure from theft. Yusufar reporting for Sunday Express.
Thank you, Farah, for that report. Now, the National Youth Service Director General Matilda Sakwa says the service is ready to transform the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, to the required standards. Sakwa has, however, denied that there is a plan to militarize KEMSA. Have a look.
NYS Director General Matilda Sakwa says that the discipline portrayed by the NYS is what attracted the government to hand its authority over KEMSA.
KEMSA still remains KEMSA. The National Youth Service is there to support some of the talents that they wanted in terms of ensuring that the capacity is built within KEMSA, to ensure that they restructure KEMSA, to ensure that they get the best out of whatever the program they're going on.
Sakwa spoke even as Labour CS Simon Chelugui decried the handling of the human resource at KEMSA.
Any move or action taken against the employee must follow due process. So I want to believe that the board will review, and they will be engaged, and they will be able to justify and how this staff will be either suspended, terminated with reasons.
Meanwhile, residents of Mukuru Konjenga are lamenting the ongoing demolitions that have rendered hundreds homeless.
Kitu nimeweka Mukuru Konjenga hatutaiona tena. Sisi kama watu wenye wako chini Tunadhulumiwa by the way.
Bado batea sisi notice na kila kitu.
Tunaenda siasa tuna
DC bado fanya baraza.
The residents say the demolitions began without a chance to salvage their property, even as they alleged a hidden plan by tycoons to grab their land. Finally, various government agencies and some private sectors are collaborating in rolling out a warehouse receipt system to farmers across the country.
Through drying technologies and storage technologies that we have seen, and that's the ones we've been promoting, we've been able to reduce among our targeted farmers post-harvest losses from as high as 25% to currently as low as 8%.
The system will be introduced through the Kenya Cereal Enhancement Program Climate Resilient Agricultural Livelihood Window. Yusufar reporting for Sunday Express.
Kenya Defence Forces, KDF, announces the recruitment of General Service Officers, GSO Cadets, Specialist Officers, General Duty Recruits, Tradesmen and Women, and Constables scheduled for the month of November 2021. Listen to Radio Taifa during the entire month of November 2021 for details of the recruitment process. Then grab your local newspaper, The Daily Nation, 7th of November. The Star on the 5th of November, while the Standard will have those details 14th of November and 9th of November on MyGov inside this Standard newspaper. The People's Daily on the 8th of November and 12th of November. Remember, no one can influence the recruitment process because bribery and other acts of corruption are against the law. Report any suspicious activities or characters to the nearest police station or military camp or call hotline numbers 0726419709 or 01203000599. KDF recruitment is absolutely free to all.
All right, and now it's time for us to focus on our conversation tonight. We are going to be talking about matters relationship on Sunday Express. And here we want to look at two things. When you decide to call it quit, how do you do it amicably? And of course, what are some of the factors you need to decide before you get to that breaking point as a couple? And that is why we have in studio here Fred Abok. Fred is a family coach and a counselor joining us just to break this down and make it easy. Though they say it's not easy, love is not easy.
Not easy.
But you're here to try and help us understand some of these issues. Thank you so much for creating time for us tonight, Fred.
Thank you so much, Serfine, for having me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
All right, so let's dive in straight away. We are talking about relationships tonight, and we are very specific about what we want to look at. It's all about mending the cracks in a relationship.
Sure.
But I want us to start from where it all begins.
For sure.
If you look at the trends, what do you think are some of the main issues that are currently causing conflicts among couples?
Yeah, thank you so much, Serfine. Conflicts actually do come as a result of disgruntled and disunity within ourselves, not really within those we're living with, but when we are actually not satisfied with what actually our partners are doing. And so there are disgruntled. When we are dealing with issues within us that are actually causing animosity within, and we do not understand how to express them, that's a recipe for conflict. Yes.
So if you look at, for example, money, if you look at, for example, unfaithfulness, what is it that is now like a thorn in the flesh for a majority of couples? You know, because I know you interact with quite a number of couples on a regular basis. What is it that they're presenting to you as the biggest challenge?
Yes, they will present all manner of things, but the deepest and the most inevitable thing is the dissolution within themselves, especially when they do not know how to match on things, when they do not know how to deal with the realities of loneliness, the reality of lack of acceptance, and those things they try to cover. They try to cover up as a result, and so they try to, waver on getting onto extramarital affair or finding somewhere that they can be accepted. And you find that the main thing is that they have actually not accepted themselves. So this go all the way, and issues of finances, when we are not organized in planning, we have loopholes that actually finances cannot be counted for, then we try to blame the partners. Serfine, what happened is actually when you are looking for something to blame, you will not fail to find it. You will always find it.
When you're looking for a mistake, you will always find it.
And cheaper of it is to find it on a partner that you're together with. Yes.
That's the most unfortunate bit. But then again, we'll talk about those ways that couples have come up with to deal with issues that emanate from relationships in this conversation. But I just want us to talk about the process of conflict resolution. So the two of you have identified that you're not reading from the same script on a particular matter.
Yes.
So what do you do? Where do you start?
I think three things are very inevitable. Number one is to accept that there is conflict. The act of accepting it gives you an opportunity to be able to rise within an element of reason. Number two is to admit. A conflict must be admitted. Admitting that you are hurt, admitting that you're in a situation that things cannot be able to rise on. And number three is to confront. Confronting conflict is actually the element of actually getting into a place that you can lovingly deal with that conflict without necessarily going into other areas that will cause emotional indifferences. Now, loving confront is actually getting on to understand that we are in a relationship and there's a conflict that has come on here. Let us deal with this amicably without actually interfering with our relationship, which is a long term.
Lovingly, you use that term and you make it sound so easy, especially when emotions are running high and people are angry and blame games begin. But how then do you deal with somebody who they never admit that they are on the wrong side? It's only one person in the relationship that is easy to say sorry, to admit to a mistake, but the other person is always right. It's their way or the highway. How do you resolve, conflict with such a person in case you're in a relationship with them?
Wonderful. I think the most important thing is to begin with an end in mind, by showing the person that there is great in this relationship than just trying to prove themselves on how right they are. But of course, I think it's also important to find friends or people that this person is vulnerable to and bring them on board so that they can actually be able to help this person get to understand their position. Now, understanding their position is actually not accusing them of what they have actually committed, but just helping them to highlight. But of course, also what I've learned over time in my leadership is that every other time that you want to confront somebody and want to bring on the light, why can't you get to mention to them the two right things that they do before you point to them the one thing that they ought to improve themselves on? In that area, people get to appreciate and be positive when they are appreciated, rather than when they are actually accused. So adopt a system that you can, before you confront somebody on something that is not right with them, try to celebrate them on the right thing that they do, so that it does not just come a confrontation, but it's a blind spot that someone is actually not seeing, but you're very much aware of.
But that can come if you've mastered a high degree of emotional intelligence. Because in that heat of the moment, let me take you back to what I alluded to earlier. You're angry and there is that confrontation, blame games, and questions are being asked about why this person did this. How do you differentiate between retaliating and resolving an issue?
I think it's important for partners who are in the conflict to first of all get to understand the importance of the viability of the relationship that they are in. It's cheap to be in emotion, to be emotional and to run on top of things and try to prove yourself of who you are. But at the end of it, it becomes so expensive. Why? Because you go out of things and you end up saying things which are actually not worthy, are not constructive for the relationship. The most important thing is sometimes it would be better when you find yourself in a conflict and you're on top of things, to a little bit walk away from that conflict presence, so that you can be able to rejuvenate yourself and recompose yourself, in that what you say will not be reversed back to you, because what has actually gone out is eminent. So you need, if you are to be judged by what you say, it will be inevitable that what you say come out of you is something that you could be proud when someone actually replayed for you. So it is one thing to be in a conflict, but it's another thing to get into that conflict in that understanding that I'm in a conflict to resolve it, not to create another conflict with that conflict. Because sometimes the way we run on top of things and say words that are destructive ends up creating other conflicts within the conflict that was actually there. So why can't we take time? No one will actually blame you because you are silent about it and you come up with a solution. So what I could advise couples is that you are not better by the quicker reaction that you're reacting towards the conflict. You are a better person by the wisdom that you bring out in the midst of that conflict, so that you can be able to have an amicable solution towards that conflict.
Let's talk about the responsibility of a particular individual in they feel aggrieved.
Yes.
There are those who propose that you also need to look at yourself and see how far you have gone, or how you have contributed to the conflict at play. Is this significant? Yeah.
It is important, number one, that the person who was offended get to accept the sting, because in most cases they will deny the sting. And when you accepting is not actually restating the status quo. Accepting is actually alluding to the fact that yes, we are in this situation, but this one, when you did this, it did offend me. This is how I felt when you did this. So that actually help to enlighten and highlight onto your partner that, oh, I did not know, because someone can actually step on your toe or speak a word to you that to them is not as hurting as it does to you. But when you highlight it and you avoid to generalize it, it helps the person to be to be cognizant about it, but also to know how to approach it in future.
So you need to be open to the fact that your actions, your words can actually hurt somebody
and how
else.
did they? So that you're specific. Because in most cases, Serfine, you find that people generalize and say, look at this, the way you talk, so someone doesn't actually understand, what did I really do wrong at this particular time? But when you are specific about it, you help to enlighten that person and help them to move forward.
All right. So Fred, you've gotten to a point as a couple, you've tried all the advice and all the strategies. It's not working. What do you do?
Great. The fact that it's not working it's not working between the two of you. It does not mean that it cannot work. Could you seek another opinion? Maybe you've actually reached the end of you, but there is someone who can actually be able to bring an idea into what you're going through. Walk out. Check it out on your friends, check it out on your confidence, check it out. Have you visited a professional counselor to advise you on other things? Because maybe sometimes we are narrowed, in relationship, there is no school of relationship. So we are narrowed on the things that we see and what we know. And so when they're exhausted, we think that everything cannot be able to work. Yet there are people who have actually walked that journey that can be able to help you on that. So please seek counsel and let yourself be helped on how to be able to move on forward. Avoid throwing the towel before the towel throws you out.
So, at what point is it not worth fighting for? At what point do you say that now we go our separate ways? And if you do that, what are some of the things that you need to do? We see a lot of, naming and shaming, exposing, messages, pictures, and social media wars when couples, read from different scripts. Is that something that you'd what did you say?
I won't advocate for that, but of course allow me to build it up systematically. The number one, is important to get into a relationship with maturity and also with an element of understanding that beyond the relationship that you are in, there is a society that honors you, but also honors the relationship that you are in. So you need to treat one another with honor and respect. But also number two, it is important to understand that the end of a relationship does not mean that end of life. Life goes on, and there are things that can actually be able to bring you together. So actually splashing on, getting out of the roof and showing off how disgruntled you are to the public is not necessary, because you may disagree on a particular matter, but there are several other things that still bring you together. So when is it, when can you call it quits? When it becomes physical and recurrent. When something is threatening onto your life, it is important to take a step and walk away.
Be safe first.
Be safe first. It's important. Don't blame that your reason. We have actually watched incidences that have actually been fatal as a result of people trying to make things right. But also secondly, when it is too recurrent and you try to bring it out, you've actually tested all options, and you're saying respectfully, come on, let him step out, give you an opportunity to get to discover yourself, rediscover yourself, so that when you find a position and a place that you can be able to move on, it will be fantastic.
All right, Fred, unfortunately we've run out of time, but very quickly a comment on some of the feedback we're getting on social media. Terry from Bungoma: hi Serfine, I broke up with my ex 2 years ago, but since then he has been spreading negative things about me and shaming me in front of my friends. What do I do? So how do you respond when one party is the one launching the missile? Kennedy Osika from Nairobi: the church shuns separation and divorce, so does it mean people should die in toxic relationships? What is worth fighting for?
Thank you so much.
We responded.
It's important to understand that, my sister, lovingly confront. Bring some, the friends of this guy. Please try and bring them on together and bring the gentleman down and just say, you know what, we got onto this thing in love. We were actually not at war. Why can't you just respect me, allow me to move on, and I allow you to move on instead of spreading? When you find that someone is actually spreading on rumors or pictures about you, this person has disgruntled within themselves. And that's why it is important for people to have a self-discovery before they discover their partners. Because people try to deal with their issues and they bleed and they mess on other people. So please wipe yourself from your bleeding and help them to wipe themselves on their bleeding so that they do not overbleed on you. Secondly, the church is not against separation. When it's a threat to your life, it is inevitable that you consult your pastor and advise amicably. What we are actually against is when people live in a life that they engage and they divorce every other time. God hates divorce. And also there are circumstances that it's actually in the Bible that people can actually be able to divorce. When there are circumstances of lack of trust, when there are issues that are recurrent or is violence, it is allowed, because life is more important than just remaining on a status quo.
All right, thank you so much, Fred. Of course, this is a conversation that we should be picking up. There is a lot that people are asking on social media and a lot that we also ought to have covered, but we will be picking it up in the near future. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. We are taking a very short break. We are coming back with the sports news.
You're acting different.
Please. Just be careful. Once a wild goose starts flying, it'll never quit.
I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want to marry me?
You're like my sister. Forget me. I believe in the future. You'll meet your heroes.
After you drink this cup of wine, you will become my wife.
Time now for some sporting action. Kariobangi Sharks trounced defending champions Tusker FC 3-0 in an entertaining FKF Premier League match played at Kasarani Stadium. Elsewhere, visitors Bandari FC held Kakamega Homeboys to a 1-1 draw. Have a look.
Felix Oluoch opened the scoring for Kariobangi Sharks in the 65th minute. Sydney Lokale doubled the lead 11 minutes later. Patrick Otieno scored the third goal in the 80th minute to hand Sharks maximum points.
Tutangangana because the league is daisha. Sasa ndio game si tumecheza 5. Sio nzuri lakini tutangangana, tutarekebisha makosa. So leo tumeona vile tumecheza hapo kwa defense. Tukokuwa sawa sana but tutarekebisha.
Ni timu ambayo inakaa ni mpya kidogo msimu huu, lakini wana ile imani kwamba wanaweza fanya vyema, haswa na kila wakati ule ambaye anapatiwa fursa kucheza. Kila mechi tunapata mmoja ama wawili wanapatiwa fursa, so wote wanaonyesha mchezo mwema.
The top flight is set to take a break after these weekend's matches to allow the national team Harambee Stars prepare for their 2 remaining 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Uganda and Rwanda on November 11th and November 15th respectively.
Moving on, Ulinzi Starlets humbled the reigning FKF Women Premier League champions Thika Queens on post-match penalties to lift the FKF Super Cup in a closely contested encounter played at Utalii Grounds in Nairobi. The match ended 1-1 in regulation time.
Rebecca Okwaro scored the opener for reigning FKF Women Premier League champions Thika Queens in the 66th minute.
Alafu wanawakejeli bwana jamani.
Mchezo soka hiyo.
Ulinzi Starlets equalized through Nuru Hadima in the 77th minute. Ulinzi Starlets went on to lead the FKF Women Super Cup through post-match penalties.
Simanu alijua kwamba hana uwezo.
Hata body language
alijua kwamba hana uwezo na Ulinzi Starlets ndio wabingwa wa FKF Women Super Cup.
We have won the tournament, Premier League, we have won the Super League. For now, no doubt as coach, we have to go for the Premier League Cup.
Okay, 1-1 is not sikuwa na expectation yangu ilikuwa ni kupiga win. Yeah, because the game ilikuwa plus kwangu kujipanga kwa what next kwa game ya league ikianza.
Focus now shifts to the league kickoff on November 13th, where 3 matches will be on card in the 12-team league. Thika Queens will host Kayole Starlets at Thika Stadium, while Wadadia will welcome newcomers Bunyore Starlets at Mumia Sports Complex. At Moi Stadium Kisumu, visitors Gospel Women will be aiming to bag maximum points against Kisumu All Starlets.
Now reigning Kenya Volleyball Federation League champions GSU will open their title defense against Kenya Army when the new season serves off on November 27th at the Nyayo National Stadium. The paramilitary side won the league playoffs in August to book a ticket to represent Kenya at the Africa Volleyball Club Championship alongside perennial nemesis Prisons Kenya and KPA. Prisons Kenya will face compatriots Prison Mombasa. AP Kenya will take on Equity Bank. KDF will be up against Prison Mombasa, while Prison Nairobi will face Vihiga County. In the ladies category, Prisons Kenya will face compatriots Prison Nairobi. Kenya Defence Forces will take on DCI, while KCB will be up against Kenya Pipeline. The Women's League will kick off at the Makande Gymnasium in Mombasa. The inaugural CAF Women's Champions League will resume Monday in Egypt with 2 matches on card. Egyptian side Wadi Degla will face Malabo Kings of Equatorial Guinea, while Hasakas of Ghana will take on AS Mande of Mali. Kenya's representatives Vihiga Queens will face Asfar Club of Morocco in their second match of their continental assignment. A total of 8 teams are competing in the group stages of this year's tournament. The matches will be beamed live on KBC Channel 1 and Y254. Now to the world of boxing. Powerhouse Cuba were crowned the new champions as the curtains came down on the World Boxing Championship in Belgrade, Serbia. Cuba topped the medals table with 3 gold and 2 bronze, followed by Kazakhstan, who bagged 2 gold, 2 silver and 1 bronze, with third-placed USA collecting 2 gold and 2 silver medals. Japan was placed 4th with 2 gold medals, while Russia completed the top 5 nations, returning home with 1 gold, 2 silver and 2 bronze medals. Defending champions Uzbekistan finished 12th with 1 silver and 1 bronze. Africa, with 41 entries, finished without a single medal. More than 650 boxers from all over the world competed from October 24th to November 6th in the 13 weight categories. Competed, I beg your pardon. All right, my time is up here. Thank you so much for keeping me company and catching the latest on Sunday Express tonight. My name is Serfine Achiebg'Ouma, and our sign language interpreter has been Byron Abuli. Have a good night.
To get Jeremiah 29:11 as your skiza tune, dial *811*397#.
Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future.
To get Jeremiah 29:11 as your Skiza tune, dial star 811 star 397 hash. Star 811 star 397 hash.
Umbe watu jasiri kama nyinyi mnaogopa kufanya mazamkembe.
Mimi naona tafute maarifa mengine kabla hatujajuta.
Kupatia nafasi angalau niambie ukweli, lakini kila kukicha uongo wako wazidi kimo tu.
Dewe kwa wapi mzee? Ama ona hapa pakufai.
Let me tell you this. If you can't take care of my daughters, you will never see them again.
I am the wife of Alejandro's son, Roman. And I demand that your daughter leave my husband alone.
She married you because she wants to get even with you.
Your wife went to my ranch last night to demand that Diana stay away from you.
The Amazons.
Hello good people, today is another day to thank God for what God has done. It's the doings of the Lord. Today we are here first to thank God and also to thank you for working together with us, partnering with us in making a difference. And leo tuko hapa ku celebrate what God has done. Unakumbuka Gatimo alikuwa hapa na alikuwa